Anthony, brother, it's good to speak to you again, to be provoked to speak to you again. And a little bit of context to why I wrote what I wrote yesterday, and to which you said, please explain. And I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for asking, little context. Yesterday, I've got a tiller that needs a new belt. It sits not in my garage on a clean or a flat cement floor. It sits out in the back under a shed roof in the dust with all the vegetation growing, of which there are many brambles and raspberry sticker things growing. And so I had to sit down to disassemble it to get to the belt, to take off the belt. So as I'm sitting there, unbolting the engine to remove it, I realize, I'm either going to have to get up, and whether it's my age or just the condition of my body, God knows. But getting up and down is not the ease it once was, or done with the ease it once was. So being loath to have to get up and shift again and stick my hand on the ground to get myself up and possibly put it in some raspberry stickers, I kind of said to the Lord, now, Lord, help me turn this machine, so I don't have to get up. I can just kind of sit here and undo the other two bolts. Well, of course, that didn't happen. So I had to get up and, leaning as I did, and stood up and began to make my way to the other side of the machine. I just happened to glance down into the undergrowth or the overgrowth or whatever it was, and something yellow jumps out at me. And I look and I say, oh my goodness, that's the sprinkler I've been looking for. That's the sprinkler, Lord, I knew I had. I believe, Lord, I told you a couple of weeks ago, I knew I bought more than one, but I couldn't find the others. And there it was. And immediately I was filled with joy. Immediately. Hey, Lord, you had me find it. I asked this weeks ago. And here it is. Okay. Timely enough for me to have. And so I was just laughing in the presence of the Lord, laughing, I believe, with the Lord at me, because, to be honest, I didn't get up in the best spirits in the sense of, hallelujah, now I have to get up and move. No, it was all aches, pains, groans, whatever, not something that the Lord even brought back to me in the sense of, weren't you just complaining a moment ago? No, not even. It was just laughing at a man who does not see as clearly as he often thinks he does, and does not behave at all according to what he would recommend. Joy in every situation. But that harkened back to something that happened about, I would say about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And reminded me, and this is again in response to God has no problem to the man who is right and wrong at the same time. And I trust you'll appreciate this, because what I'm going to speak is kind of personal family business. And if taken wrongly by some of the family mentioned, could be a suffering for them, even though I don't mean it as such, and it's not. It's not to diminish them. It's not to in any way cause them to feel any shame. It just is a situation as it was and as I saw it. And there was a grandchild whom at that time I felt was being indulged and in situations that I wasn't pleased with, and developing an attitude that I was not pleased with. And at that time, she was not of the age I was going to speak, but I said to my wife at the time, who's still my wife, but at the time I said it, I said, she's going to show up on our doorstep 16 and pregnant and needing help. And at the time I said it, I was not I was convinced it was true in the sense that I saw it, but I wasn't happy about it. I was very unhappy about it. I was, as a matter of fact, the way it was being said, and in such a in such a way to make it plain. You know, crap is going to come out of this. Crap is going to come out of this. We're going to have a 16-year-old showing up on our doorstep pregnant and needing help. And interestingly enough, as I said, as I'm sitting in the dirt yesterday, taking off the other 2 bolts, thinking about it, my wife and I just had this conversation just a couple of days ago about how these children have broken our hearts with love. That God is able to do things you can't imagine He is doing and will do. And sometimes we don't even see He has done. But I was reminded of the baby that situation brought forth. And how God broke my heart. A hard and stony heart. And what remains of hardness and stone that may yet need to be penetrated or shown broken. Okay, if we want to take some kind of theological stance, you now have a heart of flesh. Okay, but I know sometimes I operate pretty hard-heartedly. God knows I dare not lie before Him. Now, I have no excuse for that. And say the flesh is still present with us, but there's no excuse for that. Not when God has given, as He has given His own Son. And especially from one as myself who makes, even if it's a small claim to having seen something of that love, that the God who spared not His own Son, but offered Him up for us all, is now together with Him freely giving us all things. So I'm aware God is as He is to the extent as I am, but I cannot deny a man still needing very much to see. But we had the discussion and we were talking about, how these kids, man, just, each time we'd think that's enough children, no more, another would come along. And in one way, it was almost like our hearts were saying, okay, we're not going to get as involved. And then we find out we love this next one as much, if not more, is that possible, than what we thought we were capable of in loving the others? Just more, pouring it on. So that now I've got this 5-year-old running around who I can barely think of without tears, and God has added another one, another baby, who's just 2 months old. So what I meant by that was, because when we were talking about it, I said to my wife, you remember, I said, she's going to show up on our doorstep, pregnant at 16, needing our help. And my wife says, yeah, you were right about that. But I was wrong about that because my attitude, my heart about it was completely wrong. Even though it happened according to the way I had said it, in a sense, I was still all wrong about it. So there's no taking of any being right about anything. Because I can't deny again before God what my attitude was, what my heart was about it. He knows. And yet it's like He's saying, you think this is going to be a problem. I know. I'm going to let you go on thinking that. And when it happens, you may still think it's a problem. But I'm going to tell you, not long after, something is going to happen to you because of what I have done. That's going to open your eyes and shock and astound you and take your breath away. That there is a love of which you knew nothing about waiting to be found. And that's where I am today. Right now, thinking I know something of this God who gave His own Son for me. And I have no idea how deep that love is. I only know it's deeper than I know. And even saying that, I'm content to be wrong, so He shows me deeper. You be blessed, brother, and thank you Again, I appreciate your attention to a fool. Rejoice, if I may say so.